Have you ever heard of a place called Devil's Island? If not, congratulations. That means you weren't unlucky enough to be sent there by the French government in the 19th century, which is already a massive life achievement. Officially, this place is called Île du Diable. Unofficially, it was a human recycling bin where hope went to die and mosquitoes went to thrive. Located off the coast of French Guiana, this tiny rock in the Atlantic Ocean became one of the most infamous prison colonies in history. Not because it was strict, not because it was disciplined, but because it was designed to quietly kill people and pretend it was justice. So buckle up, we're going deep into one of history's most beautiful-looking nightmares. Step 1. Deport your problems. Back in the 1800s, France had a problem. Too many prisoners, too many poor people, too many political dissidents, too many guys who stole bread and forgot to apologize properly. And instead of fixing social issues like a normal country, France said, let's put them on a boat and send them to an island in the middle of nowhere. Genius. So in 1852, France opened a penal colony in French Guiana. The idea was simple. Ship criminals far away, make them work, let nature do the rest, never think about them again, out of sight, out of mind, out of oxygen. Devil's Island was part of a group called the Île de Salut, Islands of Salvation, which is ironic because nobody was being saved from anything except maybe boredom. Arrival. Welcome to your new funeral. Getting to Devil's Island was already an experience. Prisoners were packed onto ships like cargo. No comfort, no hygiene, no dignity, just vibes and vomit. Many didn't even survive the journey, and if you did, congratulations, you made it to stage 2, slow death. When the boats arrived, prisoners were marched off, shaved, stripped, registered, and mentally informed that their old life was now a distant fantasy. No escape, no appeals, no sympathy, just heat, guards, and regret. Let's talk about the environment for a second. Devil's Island is tropical, which sounds nice until you realize it's not this kind of tropical. Instead, it means constant humidity, crushing heat, rainstorms every 5 minutes, insects with PhDs in disease. Temperatures were brutal, sweat never dried, clothes never dried, wounds never healed. Any mosquitoes? Absolutely. They weren't just annoying, they were weapons. Malaria, yellow fever, dengue, dysentery, parasites. If something could live inside you and ruin your day, it probably did. The jungle didn't care about your sentence length. It cared about eating you. Now, let's discuss nutrition, or as Devil's Island called it, malnutrition. Prison food was rotten, undercooked, full of insects and occasionally missing. Rice with bugs, soup with mystery chunks, meat that probably had a backstory. Many prisoners were permanently hungry. Some lost half their body weight. Others developed scurvy because vitamin C was apparently too expensive. If you complained, guards reminded you that you were replaceable, which statistically was very true. When it came to sanitation, toilets were optional. Clean water, rare. Medical care, mostly vibes and prayers. Diseases spread like YouTube drama. Cuts got infected. Fevers went untreated. Broken bones stayed broken. If you were sick, you were weak. If you were weak, you were useless. If you were useless, you were dead. Pretty simple. Now here's where Devil's Island really flexed its evil creativity. Solitary confinement. Prisoners could be locked in tiny stone cells for months. Total silence. No talking, no visitors, no sunlight, just you, the wall, and your thoughts slowly eating you alive. Some men started hallucinating, some talked to insects, some forgot how to speak, and some just stopped caring about staying alive. Which is understandable, honestly. Escape, that's cute. Every prison has escape attempts. Devil's Island had attempts. Most failed. Why? Because the ocean currents were murderous. Sharks were everywhere. The mainland jungle was worse than the prison, and you had no supplies. So, escaping meant choosing between drowning, being eaten, starving, or dying of exposure. Pick your fighter. A few did manage to escape. Very few. And most of them had to endure hell twice to do it. One of the most famous prisoners was Alfred Dreyfus. Dreyfus was a French army officer accused of treason in the 1890s. The evidence was weak. The investigation was sloppy. But he was Jewish. And France at the time was feeling particularly racist. So instead of fixing the mistake, they sent him to Devil's Island. He was isolated, monitored, humiliated, treated like a monster for years. Eventually, journalists exposed the truth. France erupted. Protests, scandals, political chaos. Dreyfus was cleared. Devil's Island, however, stayed open because nothing says learning from mistakes like continuing them. Prisoners weren't just sitting around suffering. That would have been too relaxing. They worked, hard labor in tropical heat, building roads, clearing jungle, carrying supplies, digging, hauling. Most of it was pointless. Essentially, you were just clearing more space for the next round of victims. Structures fell apart. Roads vanished. Nature reclaimed everything, so prisoners were basically fighting the rainforest and losing daily. If you slowed down, you were beaten. If you collapsed, you were ignored. If you died, you were replaced. Efficient system. The doublage scam. Here's the biggest scam of all. Even if you finished your sentence, you still weren't free. Thanks to a rule called doublage, prisoners had to stay in French Guiana for the same amount of time as their sentence, sometimes for life. So if you got 10 years, you served 10, then stayed another 10, in poverty, with no money, no job, no ticket home. It was like finishing hell and being told, "Congrats, now live next door." Let's talk numbers. In some years, over half of the prisoners died, not from executions, from disease, starvation, exhaustion, infection, neglect. Devil's Island wasn't a prison. It was a slow-motion execution program with paperwork. By the early 1900s, journalists and activists started exposing the system. Photos leaked, reports surfaced, stories spread. People realized, wait, this is insane. After decades of ignoring it, France finally began shutting it down. In the 1930s, transport stopped. In 1953, it officially closed. Tens of thousands had passed through, most never returned. Today, Devil's Island is a tourist site. You can visit the ruins, walk through cells, take photos, buy souvenirs, which is wild. Because you're basically standing in a mass grave with better lighting, palm trees, blue water, crumbling prisons, beautiful, terrifying. So, what was the point? Did Devil's Island reduce crime? No. Did it rehabilitate people? No. Did it create justice? Absolutely not. What it did prove is this. If you send people far enough away, you can do almost anything to them and pretend it doesn't count. Devil's Island wasn't about punishment. It was about forgetting and letting nature do the dirty work. Paradise with prisons, justice with a body count, torture with paperwork. That was Devil's Island. And somehow, someone once thought this was a good idea.